Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl Rhonda, and I'm here with Mom Knows Best. This is a collaboration with Benjamin's and Business podcast show, so be sure to subscribe, like, and then also make sure you set your notifications because you do not want to miss any of our shows. I am so excited today for a few reasons. First of all, this is the first episode of the Mom Knows Best portion of the podcast. And I have two fabulous sports moms on the show today. I have Miss Sherrie Griffin and I have Miss Shanika Tyler. And Sherrie is the mom of Sean Jones. We are going to call this the Sean Mom Show. So we have Sean Jones and we have Sean Moore. And if you're thinking those names sound familiar, Sean Jones, both of these young ladies and their sons are right here from Columbus. Sean Jones went to Gahanna High School. He was a standout player, and he has gone on to go to Marquette. And in March, you would have seen him right here in our city with his team as they were Big East champs, right?
Yep.
Big East champs, and they also made it to the second round right here in Columbus. And then we have Sean Moore, who went to Reynoldsburg High School, was a standout as well. And then he went on to go to Fairleigh Dickerson. I always mess that up. I should just say FDU. Yes, he went on to FDU. And you may think, I definitely have heard that name as well, because FDU was the one that knocked off #1 Purdue in March right here in our city. And Sean played a very pivotal part in that. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you both here. I haven't had a chance to meet you until now.
Yeah.
So how you feeling? March is over. March was madness.
Yes,
correct?
it was.
It was
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so Sherrie, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
So we're going to let the viewers and the listeners know who you are. So this is your platform right now. This is your opportunity to let us know who you are. We know you're more than just a sports mom. I know you played a little bit.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead.
I'm Sherrie Griffin, born and raised in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Parent to Sean Jones, and he is a basketball legend out of Columbus in my eye. He leaves Gahanna as the all-time leading scorer and went on to Marquette. So now I'm discovering myself, actually.
Yeah.
I do work in social work. I'm a clinical social worker. I supervise foster care case managers.
Nice.
And I also have a consultant business for social workers, and I'm working on a few other projects since I no longer have the time to commit to my son who told me to just have more kids. So, yeah.
No, well, he'll always be your baby, and you'll always be there in that role. So in case he doesn't know that, he knows it now.
Yes.
So yeah. And you said you did play?
Yes, I did play. I graduated in 2001, so I played at Mifflin High School under Trey Taylor. He played at Ohio State.
Okay.
And then I went on to Central State. It's a HBCU in Wilberforce, Ohio. I played 4 years there. Actually, we hold some records. It was NAIA, and then it went to Division I, 2. No, actually went Division II after 2 years. And so freshman year, 30-2 at Central State, averaged 100 points a game.
Okay, she's being modest now. She's like, okay, let me go ahead.
No, let me quit. But yeah, in our sophomore year, we averaged 99 that year, and I want to say we it's like 28-4.
Yeah.
So that was a really good year. But why that was pivotal is I did get pregnant after the season, being popular, and I had to take off.
Yeah.
And I came back with Sean.
Yeah.
So when I came back to Central State, he traveled with the team for 2 years.
Oh, good.
And so that's how he was introduced to basketball.
I mean, we're going to get into that, but that's a lead into a good question because I was going to ask how he's introduced. So I guess it's safe to say that his skills come from his mama.
I would like to believe that. I'd say
his skills have something to do with his mama, a little bit at least.
Yeah, I would say his athleticism came from me. His dad was a really good ball player. So it was a combination genetically of 2 basketball players from Central State that put together a Division I high major basketball player. But I would say that more so he just got a combination of the 2. I believe for me, he was exposed and introduced to basketball just off of the traveling sense. Right. A lot of people don't believe this, but Sean's first words were defense because since I had him young and came back with him my coach, he got to play with us. I said he got to play with us, like he was on the team. He actually practiced with us. He would like kind of go through with his walker and stuff, but he got to travel with us.
Yeah.
And so on our bench, we had to really be interactive and yell defense and stuff like that. So that was his first words.
Hey, they learn their environment. So
yes.
That's definitely not a big thing, not at all. Okay, and Miss Shanika, it's your turn to tell us all about Shanika.
Well, I'm Shanika Tyler. I am the mother of Sean Moore, which is the history-making, bracket-breaking.
That is a true statement.
Diving in the rough, Sean Moore at FDU, Fairleigh Dickerson in New York, or New Jersey. A little bit about me. I'm not into sports at all, so it's kind of, odd that I have two sons that are jocks, sports jocks is what I call them. My terminology being that I'm not into sports. But Sean went to Reynoldsburg. Sean is, I would say he's not a selfish player. So my son doesn't care about spotlight, which is probably why he never really was that much into the spotlight. He's kind of shy, very humble, and he plays to win. So if that means giving someone else the spotlight, he's okay with that. He's just all about, team support. And their team just, breaking records is what it is. So, and I'm proud of him for that. I believe he gets that from me. But as far as being an athlete, it's definitely not me. It's definitely not his father. His father is short, I'm short, so we don't, know where he got his height from, Wow. When Sean was small, he would, pray and be like, Mom, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be tall. And I would just say, pray about it. And every day, he would pray about getting tall and being a basketball player. And,
look at God.
Yeah, absolutely.
For real.
But I work in property management. I am a property manager for a corporation out of Michigan. I'm also an entrepreneur, been an entrepreneur my entire life. Don't know anything about anything else but entrepreneurship. Of course, you keep your corporate job so that you can have stability to raise your children, especially when you're a single parent, raising children. So I'm excited to be here, excited to talk about my son, and his #1 fan.
As you both should be. That's what I say. Benji and I go back and forth as to who are our kids' #1 fan. So I guess we kind of split it, but I still think I'm the #1 fan. I'll let him have some of that. So how vocal are you ladies at the games? Because I know myself, it depends on where I'm at. I've really grown as a person. Especially NBA, I tried to calm down because the last thing I want is Trey looking up there like, are you kidding me? But when my children were younger in sports, I mean, I was about it. You definitely, you're gonna hear me in the gym, and especially in the summers during AAU and high school as well. So how vocal are you at the games?
In my opinion, I'm not that vocal, but it's crazy you asked that question because Sean actually just sent me a video from like 10 years ago, and I'm in the background saying, Sean, get the ball! So I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think I was as vocal as I appear to be. But I'm kind of relaxed, during the game, and I just pray throughout the whole game. I'm always, God, please let him be consistent today. God, please let him come in and show out. God, please. I'm always real tense during every game, because I know my son's potential.
Right.
And I just want him to believe in himself. And know that he can be a great player. He is a great player, and as moms, we know that about our kids. We know their potential.
Right. And we just want them to go out there like you said and shine like we know that they can.
Absolutely.
So, Sherrie, you look like you're over there and like you're about to burst.
Oh my God.
Are you?
Look, always ready to talk. I would say for myself, I really am not that vocal because there was like a arrogance about my son playing basketball. So most of the time I recorded his game, so I really couldn't say anything because after the games I would try my hardest to put it out to social media.
Right.
And I didn't have time to be muting stuff and stuff like that. And then for Sean, he was always good at basketball, and I never wanted him to get too excited about it. So it was always, I needed to keep him humble, let him tell it. Every year was his worst year. So I always wanted him to have a standard. And when I'm recording his games, there was an expectation. So, maybe more of the bigger games I would have anxiety, but I really even never said anything most of the games. I didn't even clap. He had to say, I don't even know why you clapped. So it would literally have to be a big game where my anxiety is going, and I'm like, now you have to show up. But for the most part, he's had the success, so you just wanted him to live up to the expectation. I think for AAU, it was a tougher competitive, time. So even then, I really didn't want to say too much because I didn't want to be that mom that was overstepping the coaches.
Right.
Just being someone who played in basketball and coached. So I always tried to keep it reserved, but I was always recording him and putting it out to everybody. So I really have never said much of anything. And then at Marquette, going to the games, I really didn't say much either there because now we're in an NBA arena and I'm way far away from him. The only game I was relatively close to him was the Xavier game, and I almost, told him to sub in, So I had to, so I
in the game.
Yes, go ahead. So get the game. And I would say at the collegiate level, it's a different experience because Sean has a different role. So I think for me, I have to watch it because although I'm not recording because he plays a certain amount of minutes, I just have to watch it because, I'm that Bob that they don't want to be like, oh, Sean's Bob just acted a fool. So, I still don't cheer, but it's just never been who I have, who I was. Yeah. So.
Well, our family, when Trey would play, the two daughters, when we were in Florida, we had cheers, we had everything, but we had cheers because the other teams had cheers.
Yes.
I mean, those New York teams and those. I think I cannot remember the name of the one, Memphis. Oh my goodness. You had to rebuttal. You had to say something. You couldn't just sit there. So I think that's what, and then times have changed because now with social media really being on, you will be a meme in a minute. So it is important. So I really commend you ladies for being able to control yourself because I don't know that I could say that I was able to.
I do want to speak on one thing. I lied. My family they're very devoted to Sean.
Yeah.
So we do have what we call the Turn Me Up crew. So I will say during the COVID year, because we only could have like a maximum 2 per family and stuff like that, we did have to carry the team.
Yeah.
So that time I did try my hardest to cheer off camera. So we do have a few Turn Me Up, Turn Me Up. That's one of our cheers. But my family, the Xavier game, they did take the signs down. And what ended up happening since we was on that first row, Xavier fans took the Turn Me Up, it flipped the cheer on the way out the game, was like, turn me up, like antagonizing us. So that was like a horrible moment. But I do have we do have a cheer crew. So it's like my mom, my aunts, my cousins, and there's a few dances that we'll do. So here and there, I will
even dances. Okay.
Yes. I have tons of videos of it, but I've always recorded like, I would say 98% of all Sean's videos. So that's mainly what I do. But
well, I'm sure being that March Madness was right here in the city, you had a turn-up crew, right? Did you brought, okay. Yes. Tell me about that because I know our experience in the tournament, we like to bring a lot of people everywhere we go. I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that we really want people around us to be able to experience what we're experiencing as well. So tell me how exciting March was being right here in Columbus.
So I was kind of excited because I think the projections were leaning towards that Sean and them was going to come to Columbus. Okay. So that's something that we kind of knew. We were assuming that they was going to get the number 2 seed. So when it came out, everybody kind of expected, especially once they started going through the selection, it was leaning towards they were going to come to either Columbus or I believe Iowa. Mm-hmm. So we was already in anticipation. But what happened though that I think was the neat thing, because I did have to travel to get to most of his games, which was an adjustment to go from 2 minutes away in Gahanna to now you got to book a flight or, it was like, it's a lot. It's a serious adjustment. And it's just, you're not as close to the coaches as you were, like you had your whole community here.
Right.
All of Reynoldsburg, all of Gahanna, everybody wants to win. Not that, but now you got to hold state and a fan, crew. But I think them coming here, I knew Marquette was coming wherever they were going to go. But for me, I got excited. And then a lot of news, like Channel 4, I mean, everybody was hitting myself up, hitting Sean up. So it was just like, it was like a surreal moment to have your son's freshman year be that they won, the Big East tournament. They were Big East champs, picked 9th.
Right.
9th in the Big East. And to finish number 1 in the Big East. And for Sean to be a freshman and be a part of that winning culture, like that's something that a lot of people don't get. A lot of people have an amazing college career, but they don't get to win.
Yeah.
And then to have 2 games here where people were able to come, I do wish the tickets were a lot more affordable, but it was like, it was a surreal moment in terms of family having an opportunity, people getting a chance to see Sean here just to support Columbus natives. I think we were even excited just to have 2 Seans, because although I didn't know you guys personally, it was just like, we have Columbus kids playing collegiate ball, playing in Columbus in the tournament.
Big deal.
So it was really like a big deal. You know, the odds, the chances of that, and then I'm segue into what happened with you guys. So y'all guys, I mean, what you guys did was phenomenal, because we played Purdue earlier in the season and we stayed with them, and then kind of got away from us, like, and so us being picked 9th, I think for us, we were like, we're going to be a really good team, but nobody knew it because we were in a non-conference schedule. So to make it to where we did, it was amazing. But for him to come to Columbus, like, that was like a once in a lifetime moment for a mother who is adjusting to being an empty nester and having to drive to go see my son.
Right.
It was surreal. I mean, it was crazy. I had family, everybody calling, blowing me up for tickets. I mean, I felt like my son was in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of controversy going on.
Like, who gets to go?
You know, so because we went to Dayton, they played FAU there, and then they beat them. So we were like, yes. And then came here, played Purdue. In the back of everybody's mind, we're like, okay, they ain't gonna beat Purdue. You know, like, hey, we're gonna wish them the best. You know, that's because that's what statistics say. But you know, I know my son. He always play hard when his back is against the wall. So Sean plays very well when he has a lot of pressure on him. He does not fold, and that's what I love about him. And I just hope he will continue to bring that type of momentum to every game moving forward. But yeah, it was exciting. It was scary, you know. It was just a lot of media, a lot of attention. My son he just didn't know what to do. I mean, he felt like a celebrity. He was like, Mom, I get used to this.
They were
Steph
celebrities.
Curry's shoes and stuff. So yeah, they got a lot of publicity. And the fact that they had officers following them all through the city, and it was just a really good experience for him. And then the fact that he came home for the first time, played for the first time in the city since high school. His family was able to witness his, you know, record-breaking career. So it was amazing. I was really proud of my son. Very proud of my son.
Yes. So during the regular season, did you get a chance to travel a lot to the games?
So first year Sean was redshirt, so no games, COVID year and all that too. So it was the 2, you know, parents or whatever per game, but I didn't attend any because he didn't play. The second year we actually drove to Kansas City. They had a game there, or not drove, flew to Kansas City. So like you said, tickets, hotels, all that. I have expensive taste, so I'm like, okay, I need a 4-star or better. You know? I don't want no bad guys, say no.
Hello.
So I'm like, it was a lot, you know, but I was proud to be there. They won that game. It was amazing. And then I try to always attend his very first game, because most of his games is East Coast, so it's always going to be in New York. New York is always, you know, 9 hours away. Flights are always expensive. So I watch him a lot, you know, on television. I usually go to about 3-4 games physically a year at least. But more or less, I'm on my phone watching him, texting him the whole time while he's playing. Like, get the ball. He don't know.
Right.
You know,
he looks at his phone after, like.
He's like, Mommy, what? I'm like, bro, you know. But it's a lot. It's exciting. But yeah, I go to as many as I can.
Right.
You know, within reason. So.
Yeah, I think for me, when it all started, I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I was going to get to that first game with my family, but I didn't know how realistic it was going to be to travel to Big East schedule, to travel to non-conference. But then, like, the control freak in me kind of came in after that first game, like, oh, I can go to the second. And then the second game came. I was like, I'm going to the third. And then I was like, you know what? I don't know where I'm going to get this money, but I'm going to be at all of these games. And I think for me, watching Sean adjust, you know, as a freshman, it was an adjustment for me because I was used to a certain level of success. So it was humbling to see his role change. And I just wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to see it, you know what I mean? Because, you know, one thing about your kids is they're going to tell you a little bit. And so I need to see it in person. So I think I want to say I went to the first 17 games. I had a lot of support from family, friends.
Right.
One of my friends, I don't know what happened in her life, but she thinks Sean is her son. So she was always like, I'm at the games. And she went to a few that I couldn't go to because she had a conference out in New York. So I didn't even get to go when they won the Big East tournament. I didn't get to make it out there because I definitely believe we was going to win. That's just like you just always believe.
Yeah.
Every game is winnable. I always tell Sean, anybody can get beat. So I definitely believe that they were going to win, but the tickets had like skyrocketed, like airplane tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think once the weather kind of started to get bad, it was like a few games where I tried to drive and it was snowing. And I was like, man, this is just getting kind of risky. Then during Christmas, I had like tons of flight delays to the point where, I barely got out to Milwaukee because Milwaukee is like totally up north and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was starting to get to a point where it was getting unrealistic to be at the games. And I was like, okay. And part of me didn't want to watch it on the TV just in case he got in and they said something that I disagree with. I was like, oh, even though my friends and my guy friend and, just like my significant other would just be like, they really always speak highly of Shaw, but I'm like, I just hate to see. So then when I finally started watching the games at home, I would watch him on mute when he got the game. Because I'm like, I don't want to go find somebody on Twitter and
I hear what you're saying.
start attacking them because I never really had to adjust my role,
Right.
and I didn't want to. And for the most part, like the feedback would be positive, but I didn't want to hear if he had done something wrong, and they'd be like, "Oh, this freshman needed to,"
Yeah.
But they always said he was, it was always positive, but I would wait until
Just in case.
Yes, my significant. He was like, they said something about Shot. I'm like, did you get the clip or something, or, and then I'd be like, okay, all right. So then, but I will say this season I could never relax, which is why I ended up at as many games as I could. And then finally I was like, I really need to stop.
Right.
And, and stuff like that. So that was my experience. I don't know what next year will look like, but I just wanted to be there his freshman year. And then also while he's adjusting, have somebody that he can look in the stands and be like, man, my mom has supported me.
Yeah.
Why should it
think
stop
that's
now?
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
But I did stop. You said you be texting during the game. I stopped doing that because I think by Sean's senior year, he was done listening to me. And so, he told me, you said enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dang, I gotta find a life. Like, so he was done listening to me. So ain't no texting him. He won't respond after that. So I've always been kind of critical of him for the better, you know what I'm saying? And I think, he had heard enough. So.
Well, Trey doesn't respond to me, but you better believe I know you see the text. That's all I care about. I know you see the text. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So speaking of FDU and Marquette, now I know Sean started at another school. Why did he select the school that he selected?
So it was his only, it was not his only. He had a couple other D2s that was interested, and of course D1s. And I told my son I wanted him to go as far away from Ohio as possible because I just didn't want him to be content with being here. I wanted him to branch out and see the world. But St. Thomas Aquinas was the first official, and it was COVID year. So my son was struggling really, really hard his senior year with the ACTs and SATs. We had him in tutoring. And he got sick, so when he had to take the test, he didn't do good because he was sick, and then it was close to the end of the year. He waited to the last minute to take the test, which is a kid should never do. He waited till his senior year to finally take the test. And then the first time he was sick, so he flunked, or I don't want to say flunked, but he didn't have the grade
Didn't do as well.
level of score that he needed to be successful.
Right.
So we got into tutoring, and then COVID hit. Yeah, so we were just nervous, like, how is this gonna, play out? And then with all the new rules and regulations, he was able to get through college without even having to take that ACT and SAT again. So that's why I say it's all a blessing and ordained for my son, just because of the way how his story just played out for him. It's just, this is the inevitable for him. So.
And then he transferred with his coach and a few other players. So how did that come about?
So his coach got an offer to go coach at FDU, and then he wanted to bring Sean with him.
Good.
His coach and I have a really good relationship, so we text all the time. He keeps me informed. Whenever he feel like my son is not up to par, he will text me like, "Hey, Shanika, talk to Sean."
Yeah, that's great though.
We have a really good relationship, Coach Anderson and I do. And then the new coach is trying to build that rapport as well. So that's one thing I do respect about his current coaching team is they do try to build a relationship with the parents because ultimately they're kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So Sean started at 17. He didn't turn 18 until after, he got to college.
Right.
And, even with all that, it's like, you're going through phases of life and they're just still kids mentally, so they need the guidance of their parents. So I respect the fact that the coaches were keeping me in the loop and reaching out. But he's loyal, so he followed his coach.
Well, that's it. Hey, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Look where it led him. Look where it led him. So why Marquette?
Okay, so the biggest thing is during the COVID year, Sean and Gehenna had a surprising season. I would say off of his freshman year, I've always been the confident mom, was just like, this wasn't the season we should have had, but by his sophomore year, everybody so-called took Gehenna by surprise that we were pretty much undefeated the whole season. But in my head, I looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season, was like, Sean, y'all can beat everybody.
Right.
But I say that to everything, you know what I'm saying? So,
but that confident, I like that though, because honestly, that's how Trey is. Trey does not meet someone that he can't beat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's kind of what it is. It's just like, I always tell Sean, anybody can be beat because there's 5 players on the floor, and depending on your matchup, especially during March Madness.
Oh yeah.
Anybody, and I was on Twitter arguing that anybody could be beat, like, a few times. But
we don't talk about that.
But that sophomore year, Sean had an amazing year. He pretty much was the best player in Columbus, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? So off of that year, COVID hit. And then we were relying off of that season and his videos to get him offers. So because coaches weren't able to come out, they were just really extending the offer off of videos that we were sending, phone calls and everything. Right. So his recruitment took off. But the main recruiter was Travis Steele out of Xavier. And what he kept saying to us was, Sean is a Big East guard. Like, you may get offers from Big Ten, you got, Ohio State recruiting him. You may get offers from, the Big 12, but he is a Big East guard. They're up and down the court. It's a guard league. If you don't choose Xavier, you need to go to Butler, you need to go somewhere.
Right.
Okay, so by Sean's junior year, COVID to me, he still had a good year, but I felt like he started to kind of mentally be drained on the year. And I was like, man, what could pump him up? Well, oddly enough, his dad lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So before Coach Smart got to Marquette, I started reaching out to people in Milwaukee to say, we need to get him an offer to Marquette. He needs something to pump him up.
Yeah.
So the coach at the time was Wojo. A few of his friends and his dad's people tried to start making a connection, but he got fired. And then Coach Smart he came.
Yeah.
He left Texas. So he left Texas at the same time Michigan's coach left, I want to say the year before. So Coach Haynes, one of the assistant coaches, went to Maryland. And then when Coach Smart got to Marquette, he got to Marquette too. As soon as he got to Marquette, he hit me up and said, Sean is going to get an offer today.
Okay.
This is going to be one of our first guard offers. And I was like, okay, I'll be waiting 2 hours for the call.
Yeah.
Coach Smart didn't know anything about Sean, but oddly enough, the connection was Coach Smart knew Coach Steib because he's got 2 players from Gehenna that was on his VCU team. And one of the guys, when he made that big run to the Final Four, he had a Gehenna guy.
Yeah.
So he first reached out to Sean's coach, and immediately once he saw some video on Sean, talked to Coach Steib and extended the offer. So that was like the beginning of that relationship. But then what started, once the recruiting was picking up, AAU got back on the scene because we couldn't do it because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now you had everybody recruiting Sean. And now everybody can finally go visit campuses even though there wasn't students. We leaned towards Milwaukee for like several reasons. It was because it was a Big East school, but it was also because his dad was there. And it was going to give him an opportunity to build that relationship with him and that side of the family.
Yeah.
So he chose it for several reasons, but they also was recruiting him the hardest with Xavier, so it kind of boiled down to those two schools. Yeah. But I think mainly the biggest thing was a chance to just be around his family,
which is
the other half.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel good because although I you said you told Sean to go as far as you can. I wanted him to go as far as he could, but then I was like, do I move out there? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I follow him out there?
Yeah.
Which is kind of not what he wants. You know what I'm saying? So it was a good thing that now he's an adult. He can really be out there, build a relationship with his dad, and all of their family comes to the game. Like, they're really a deep family, so they're always at the games. So it works out for Sean. He has that support even with me not being there.
So how has he adapted from being at Gahanna? And I know he's young. He's just going into his sophomore year, so his ceiling is so high. But being at Gahanna, Player of the Year, being on the ESPN scouting, holding the record for what is the record? The
all-time leading
score
and free throw percentage.
He took that away from Stevie Taylor, who is an awesome player. Yeah. That is a big deal. So how has he adjusted to being a freshman and now playing more of a reserved role?
So I don't know if he's adjusted. I haven't. But, the other thing I want to say that was neat about him taking that record from Stevie Taylor is I started coaching in Gahanna. That's why Sean started in Gahanna at the high school while Stevie was still there as a student.
Oh,
Stevie got the record. I didn't know Steve at all, even though I was a freshman coach. And then when Sean got there, I walked up to the record and told him, this is your record. So I find that video that I had I'm like, you need 20 more points. You need to be on pace. We need 300 a year. You know what I'm saying? And our offense was really conservative. So this was a struggle bus to get to these points, okay? It was a very conservative offense.
Mama had it planned out.
Yes,
I like that.
Strategic.
I like that.
Sean didn't listen, but I would do the math on it like, man, you can get this, you can get that. But I think for Sean, like I said, he's been used to success, but the neat thing about him where we differ is he's really a humble kid.
Yeah.
He kind of stays to himself. I think a lot of the reasons a lot of people in the city like Sean is because he's just a humble kid. He wants to do, like Sean, anything for his team to win.
Yeah.
If it's play hard defense, he always wanted to get people involved. So he's always been that team guy. People love playing with him. I think his adjustment going to Marquette has been one that started in the offseason. He started school there before he graduated. So he started school 2 weeks before he graduated from Lincoln. His graduation, the next day he flew out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was in for a rude awakening. I told him, listen, I went to NAIA D2 school, but he really was on a struggle bus for a minute there because although Sean was always working out, always in the gym, you come to...
Oh,
yeah, so... I would be talking to Sean because I was so depressed, no AAU, anything, nothing for me to record, nothing for me to put out on social media. I was like, I cannot wait for November. He said, Mom, I'm trying to make it hour by hour, minute by minute. He was like,
he said, you're talking about November.
Yes, you talk about November. I try to get a good night's sleep. And I was like, boy, I feel like he done aged. So I know you speak of him being young, but it got weird because I was like, I've lost my road, and it's like he's matured. I almost felt like I was talking to my dad. I'm like, here around these grown men, they done turned him to a grown man. And he would just say, I'm not. He said, Mom, I had to carry one of my teammates up the hill. And I was like, he said, so I'm not even thinking about November. I'm thinking hour to hour. So I did have to switch my conversation and, start talking to him about that freshman year may not be, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get in off of defense. And then on top of that, you're an undersized guard.
Yeah.
And so one of the neat things that I do, I know you speak of Sean's success and stuff like that, and him, oddly enough, being tall, Sean is under 6 foot guard getting it done. You know what I'm saying? So I think for him, he has some advantages to playing at that level and some disadvantages. And I think he knew to get on that court, it was going to start with defense. So he has locked in. I mean, that was the one thing when I would unmute the TV, or my friends they always said, Sean, when did he pass the ball? Why are you dribbling right in front of Jones? He's on you. And he would slow up that guard. And so he knew that was what. So I think this year was a good adjustment for him because he's always had to be that guy.
Yeah.
And it sucked for him some games in high school where maybe it wasn't his day.
Yeah.
And then it's, this player went off against Sean. Well, he had 4 other people on the team. He could think for a second. You know what I mean? So I think that one of the pros of him adjusting is he didn't have to always be that guy. He didn't have to be hero ball because sometimes it was hard to watch.
Right.
But then, as a parent, my adjustment is just wanting to see more minutes and stuff like that. But I mean, again, I was happy they came to Columbus. I was happy that he got to be Big East tournament. Like he could have went mid-major and averaged 40 and finished the season at 8-11. So I think it's an amazing experience. And just as outside of basketball, they are grooming him into a grown man, and I'm very pleased and appreciative of that.
Picking the right school has so much more to do with just the name of the school. We were really strategic about both of our ball players, from on the women's side and the guys' side. It's funny because Trey definitely did not think it through the first time when he gave us, I'm going to Cincinnati, and nothing at all against Cincinnati, but that would not have been the right choice for him, with him having the other schools in front of him. So we sat down and we were very strategic. We did a pros and cons for Cincinnati and Michigan. And again, he was not very honest. He just had his mind set. So what he was doing for the pros for Cincinnati should have been the pros for Michigan. But we said, okay. He got up, he walked away. Benji and I looked at each other and we said, we could not let this happen. If you don't get back in here, and then we went back over it again and really explained to him that it's more than just the stigma of you being a Columbus kid going to Michigan, and I know how much grief you're going to get. I think that was one of the issues why he wanted to go to Cincinnati. Another issue is that was more of his comfort zone, but we told him, hey, we're not used to comfort. You swimming this way, we're swimming this way. You know, we are one of those families that if it's comfortable, it's probably not for us. You know, we need to fight through it. So that's what we ended up doing. So what do you think this far from either high school or college has been Sean's biggest moment?
Of course, March Madness.
Yeah,
definitely.
He did show out. That I was actually at Old Charlie's watching that game, and I was with my best friend, and we were so shocked. We know several people that were rooting for Purdue, of course. It was Big Ten. I was so shocked, but I was so happy, and then I realized I did not know, I'm gonna be honest, from the beginning, I didn't know that there were two Sean locals that were playing. And then when I found out and, really started looking into it, I was like, I would like to get these ladies on the show so we can learn more about it. So what do you think is Sean's biggest moment so far, either high school, college?
I would say that I can't think of anything that I would hone in on as of right now. The reason why I say that is because I've set so many aggressive milestones for him that he's achieved that I think that I would just kind of sit back like, I'm starting the season by saying y'all could be undefeated, and then you carry your team and you're undefeated, or I believe you are a high major guard, or I believe that you can break a record. And so I think as a mother, as someone who, when Sean first started, he was exposed to basketball because he got to travel 2 years with the team. But I think for me, I didn't know if he was going to be good at basketball. Let's start with, there. I thought I was good at basketball. I thought his dad was good at basketball. But, his first year, my mom put him on a jersey and he was just running around screaming. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to put this kid up for adoption. Like, this is really, really bad. And then, so I don't know that I have one moment. I think it was just neat to see how well you did. And, second grade, he was really that good. But then he kind of plateaued and nobody was talking about him. And then he picked it back up and it was like, so I think it was just to see how he handled adversity, how he handled the naysayers. Like, I mean, he's been compared to you guys' son. He's been compared to everybody under the sun, which, by the way, thank your son for just always reaching out to him, showing love through, social media, little bro, stuff like that. But I think for Sean, he's always been a humble kid, but he's had adversity. He's been, like I said, if there was a bad game on Sean, it was not that Sty was coaching or that you had 4 other players at a whole bench. It was Sean, and stuff like that. Sometimes I felt like people rated other players based off of what he did, So I think that as a mother, I just was blessed to see him attempt to try to achieve all that he could and to make it to a high major school. I mean, it's so easy when your kid is playing in AAU in the 3rd and 4th grade, and I hate to see it, to be honest, with AAU, where they're saying, my kid is a D1 baby, or this, and that, and I'd be like...
Or rankings.
Yeah, you don't
rankings
know
at that time,
the rankings. Yes, you don't know the half. You're traveling all around. And it was crazy because I did all of this, even though we was good, and I was burnt out. By the time Shani got to high school,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, we did all that traveling, and I'm trying to ask myself, why did I spend all this
Yeah,
money? We could have played up in Columbus at the OYB tournament, 2 grades up, beat the 6th graders as 3rd graders.
Right.
But I said, we did all of this. And so I think that what I learned is a lot of stuff is overrated, but as parents, we get so aggressive and try to get behind our kids and say, oh, my kid scored 30 in a 3rd grade tournament. And it's like, yeah, you classed them 15 times.
Your kid is going to be that size in the 3rd grade once he gets to the 8th grade. So.
Yes, and that's what I would do. So for Sean, I think my most pivotal moments are every milestone I set, he achieved it.
Good.
Everything that I said, I bet you can't do this, he did it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, well, you still was terrible to get him to do the other thing. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that I'm just blessed to see that he was able to achieve and go play high major basketball. I mean, I never could have done that. You know, I thought he could do that, but to see it happen, I never thought he would be at the NCAA tournament. I watched the NCAA tournament, but I never thought there would be 2 Seans playing, one from Reynoldsburg, one from Gahanna. So some of it is even hard to really just live in moments because now you're looking forward.
Live in the moment. That is the key word. And anytime I'm asked what advice I will give to a parent, it will definitely be live in the moment for a few reasons. Our daughter, she did 4 years and it went by like that. Afterwards, she said, I'm done. I don't want to think about going overseas or anything. She's done with basketball. So those 4 years went so fast. Trey it's his 10th season and I still can't believe it. I'm still trying to live in the moment because everything is going to go so fast. Don't even start thinking about what's next. You have to think about what's now and enjoy it. Don't rush it. Just live in the moment. And on that note, when you guys dropped your sons off at school and turned them over basically to this higher institution and these instructors and coaches, how was that? Because I know what I went through. So how did you feel when you dropped him off at his very first school and you got in the car and you were getting ready to leave?
I was afraid because I know me, I was a strict mom with my son, so I didn't really let him stay at night over people's houses without meeting the parents.
Yeah.
And didn't really let him hang out all like that just because I didn't want my son to be easily influenced by a lot of people. Because my son, he's, like I say, he's real humble and easygoing. And Sean really is a loner for the most part. But I was just more or less worried about him being curious since he's been sheltered so much, but he just wasn't curious. So, to my knowledge, I mean,
right.
But I caught him every day, all day. I felt like my world was just, I don't even know, it was just an experience I wasn't prepared for. As a mom, no one prepares you for, your children leaving. I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't know it was going to drain me and take so many emotions to let, I felt like I was letting go of my child. But I called him every day, 24 hours a day.
Oddly enough, I didn't drop him off. Okay, so I told you Sean started school 2 weeks before he graduated because they're on semesters. So the problem was they wanted to do it 2 ways, where he went for the weekends, and what we ended up doing was have him go online to school. And so he graduated on Saturday, went bowling Saturday night, Sunday morning he was flying out at 8 a.m. Okay.
It's like he just got drafted.
Yes. And oh my goodness, listen. And I am a clinical social worker. I'm into mental health. I'm into healthy relations and everything, but it was tough. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I didn't think it was going to be tough because, like, for me, I was a single parent. Like, I had a amazing village behind me, but actually his senior year was the only time I tried to even get serious about a relationship and even dating someone because I said, I need to get a life. Like, I really didn't have guys around Sean, but I'm like, I need to do something before he gets out of here.
Right.
Because I'm probably going to be alone. And I've never felt alone as a parent. I never felt, I mean, I always had my own life, but I never felt pressed to do anything because I didn't really want, a guy around, you know what I'm saying? But I did try for a serious relationship his senior year because I was like, I started doing social stuff and, so I would be out of town and I would like give Sean his space at my home and I didn't feel like he wanted me there. And you know what I mean? So that senior year was an odd year for me because at the beginning of the school year too, he told me, we're not doing this year. And I'm like, we're not doing anything. What? And he said, after the games, Mom, I've heard all your speeches and I've given him the most Martin Luther King speeches on basketball you could ever, and I knew he was tired of it, but I do hate that I kind of took that back seat. But so when he flew off, I thought that I had put in something that was, safe for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drive to Milwaukee because then I also wanted him to have the start of a relationship with his dad, give him a chance to make up for the years where he didn't commit the way he should have.
Yeah.
So where that left me is, what do you do with yourself? Okay, you have a relationship and this and that, but you just don't understand that there's still a void that cannot be filled because it was literally what I did.
Yeah.
Year round, I was committed and I was having a good time doing it. I didn't want to do anything else. I was like, we're about to go on this trip.
I don't think you realize how much time at the time you may go back and think about it, just like you said. That was my whole life.
Yes.
And that was ours as well. Our summer vacation was AAU trips.
Yeah.
I mean, the girls knew this is what was happening. So once they get to that level, I boo-hooed every time I dropped somebody off at college. All the way home, I cried. And it was just the fact that part of your life is so different. It's a change. That's what we're used to.
It is like even now, like going through the seasons, because this would have been AAU season. So I'm like,
what do you do?
Yes, what do I do? And again, like I said, even with, being in a relationship, I was like, nothing can prepare you for something that you're so committed to for years. You know what I'm saying? So, but I didn't want to drive to Milwaukee and start helicopter parenting him like, hey, your mom's outside of your door,
There that woman is again.
Yes. Oh, here's Sherrie. But then I had a moment where Marquette had posted on Twitter, welcome home. And I was mad at them. So I had for a minute had Marquette blocked. Like I had everybody blocked because I had to get off of social media because I wasn't happy. And I was like, why am I not happy? My son is going on. And even today I told him, I said, I'm miserable. I said, I said, I didn't think this through. I had you when I was like in the middle of college and I was like, I didn't think this through. And, the guy that I was dating, he has a son. So it's like, okay, I can support that. But I'm like, which is still fun. But I'm like, it's like your son is your son. So it's like, I was like, I haven't thought this through. I said, I really do want you to come back home. He said, Bob, you need to get that out your head. I am not coming home ever besides my visits. No, he said, I'm not coming back to Columbus when I graduate. I'm going to go play professional ball, this and that. And I said, man, I have raised a little miniature me because I have been so blunt with him over the years.
And now it's his
turn. Now he's like, get over it. You should have had more kids. And I'm like, that's because I didn't. The other reason why I didn't want to have any kids is because I was afraid that he was so good that I would be sitting here, I'd probably have that kid be like, I'm not Sean. And then, when you cross compare, like, you know what? He was walking at 8 months. You 2 months and you 12 months in and you still,
you're not doing.
Yes, I need you to backflip at 3. And you.
Oh, that's an athlete in her.
Yes,
yes.
That definitely is. That's a competitor. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would hate that even as a social worker having a high level of self-awareness. So yes, part of my target is date someone who has someone who is in a sport because I don't want to tear my other kid down because he didn't live up or she didn't live up to Sean's expectations. So at this point, and then we were laughing about it's too late to have another kid because then Shawnee would be like an uncle or dad. Like, I said I should have thought this through and just had a bunch of stair steppers and put them all in basketball. Because how like when you have the stair steppers, the last one like Jared Sullinger could be the NBA athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all have an NBA son, but I'm like, I didn't think this through because I could have had 3 stair stepping athletes. Now I've lost it, so I have to ride someone else's kid's wave. So
well, we're about to talk about social media because you've mentioned that a few times now. I have to tell my story about social media. You've mentioned Twitter, which I have been off for years, probably about 6 or 7, only because I was going in, and you can never, ever, ever win that battle on social media. I found out the hard way. I said, let me get off of this Twitter because I'm trying to reply to everybody. They are coming at me like crazy, and Trey is the one getting the short end of the stick. He's like, Mom, can you just not reply? I'm like, okay, I have to not look at anything and not read this stuff because Twitter is the worst.
Vicious.
I've been off for a while. But so do you have, are you on any social media?
I do have for my business.
Okay, but not personally.
I have Facebook, but I've been off for a few months now, but I'm not.
That's
really
probably good to just decompress. I probably
I'm not really
need
a
to.
vocal person to that extent.
Yeah.
I don't like conflict.
Yeah.
So.
I don't prefer conflict, but I also don't like to read to read different things either.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So how about you and your social media experience?
Well, mine would be 2-part. I think the biggest thing with like Sean, I ran Sean's social media, and I think for the longest, because of his skill set and being an undersized guard, that helped with his recruitment. Actually, that was the feedback from a lot of coaches because Columbus to me doesn't do a good job, and I felt like they did your son like kind of a little bit of a disservice where we're not getting out the attention to the talented players we have here. So some people have to take the road less traveled.
Yeah.
I was constantly putting stuff on Twitter, like I ran Sean's page, and some people would call me corny because I would put one of Sean's posts. They'd be like, Sean, we know this is your mom, because it would be like basketball up, or say Sean was trying to use an NBA YoungBoy line or something, and I would fix the words so that he's like, this is not the way it goes, Mom. So I ran his page up until he.
Right.
Yes, I did. I would fix it like, Sean, you go to Gehenna, like,
Get it together.
And, yes, and so I believe that's got his success. And then when NIL was coming out, they was valuing his account. But the thing that I get on him to this day about is since he has ran his page and he's the cool kid that just doesn't want to post as much as I did, I said by your senior year, you were verified once you committed to Marquette. You don't want to post all the content, but that's how people see you, and that's how you were very popular. And his social media is trending downward because he doesn't post.
He doesn't.
Because he's cool and he's a humble kid. He doesn't care. And I'm like, give me the page back, because once it went verified, it kicked me out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give me the page. I'm not necessarily bothered by anybody's comment because I do, know basketball, but I also didn't experience the levels because you have your son in the NBA and he's had his, career. So I can see where I could at that level get caught up because people have so much to say. And I think the other thing I'll say is Sean and them's team agreed they were not going to get on Twitter because here we had a team that they were saying was going to finish ninth in the league. And then Tyler, our lead guard, basically said, fuck them.
Yeah.
So we had sweatshirts running around that said "fuck them" on them. You know what I'm saying? And because it's like y'all haven't even seen the team. Like, how do you do preseason rankings if we haven't preseason played a game? I don't know what.
And who are the experts doing these rankings?
Okay, so
that's
let me.
what I say.
Now I will tell you, if you want to know one thing, I would say there's 2 statements I would say because yes, I'm an athlete. The biggest one is, in my younger years, play me. Like, who are these people doing these rankings? That's the first thing. But I think they are important because you can use them for good or bad. So they ended up working for Sean because, again, here you have an undersized guard with a skill set nobody has. That's fun. And so I milked it. I milked every page I could. To this day, I share all of Sean's business. And he hates it because it's probably why he's such a trending the opposite. But I have seen different comments, mainly like we lost junior year, which to this day still breaks my heart, where we lost like by a heave from half court from Westerville Central. And so kids was jumping on, even some adults was like jumping on social media to be like, ha ha, Sean, y'all lost by like a buzzer beater. And I'm not gonna lie, if you had caught me out that night, I would have been in jail for assault. But other than that, I'm like, and it may be just my background of being in social work, I have it takes a lot to really get under my skin, like a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I always have a reason for why somebody is doing something. Like, it's very easy for somebody to be behind a screen and talk about your son. It's very easy for you as the mom to say, first and foremost, I know my son because we know our son's skill set. And then 9 times out of 10, you can't do that. But Sean's team agreed they were not going to even get on Twitter because the year before they didn't play that great, and even your own fans will attack you.
Oh yeah.
And those are
They'll
things
flip
that
in a minute.
they'll flip in a minute. 1 minute, if y'all 5-0, they like, oh, we got the best.
Yeah.
They ride waves, and people, they're obsessed. Like, I have so many people follow me, and I always have to give a generic, I'm always giving the most generic answer. Oh my God, Sean, he should have played 5 more minutes. I want to say he should have played 20 more minutes, but I'm like, I would like, his time is coming. Like, so I always have a generic answer because I know that you say one wrong thing and it just goes down a rabbit hole and somebody jump on it, and this cancel culture, and everybody want to just jump and judge you. So I'm always saying some generic fake answer on social media. Oh, Sean's the best. Like, he had a really good showing out in Florida, and they played in Fort Myers, and you had everybody, the president, the provost, all in my face, and everybody on Twitter, we love Sean. Then the next game, he played 12 minutes and crickets. And then the next, like, you really have to be careful. And so I just always hit generic answers. I did go in on somebody field of 68. They talk about pretty much the projected teams that would make it in, and they were talking so bad about Marquette at the beginning of the season, and then it was like, Shaka just finds a way to get these nobodies to play. And I said, the problem is they're not nobodies. Y'all just don't recognize talent. Y'all try to ride waves while y'all rank in North Carolina, and now they don't even make it to the tournament. You guys just don't know talent. You think you know analytics because they have all these numbers out there.
That's what it is.
Where they're, oh, this analysis says these teams are going to finish. I said, that's the neat thing about March Madness. You don't know who's going to come and break history with the #1 team. Anybody, you can't detect or predict who's going to show up today and it be their best game of their life. They're hitting every shot. They ain't hit a shot all season, but then they come out there and they done won 10 in a row. That young lady for LSU that came off the bench. What? It was the night of her life.
Drafted.
She carried the team. The team was in foul trouble. The game was intense, and she came out there just hot, just.
But another thing about social media, it's not fair. That it's not, a parent could say, or a family member could say something, but the person on the other end could be just as personal with their attacks as they want to be. It's not talking about the whole team. It's a personal attack. And now that's what always got me going. That's why Benji said, get off of it. I had to shut it down.
You do almost have to shut it down. Even like with Angel Reese, like, I think at this point I would like for her to stop tweeting, but she says she's going to stand up for herself, right?
Right, and she's going to be herself.
Then everybody's attacking her. It kind of took away from LSU's win. But then you had Caitlin, like, man, all the shit I talk, like, just leave her alone. Like,
I'm glad she did that, though.
Yeah, but then I did jump on it. I said, man, I played NAIA Division II, and I used to talk the most shit playing at these black schools.
Yeah,
man,
you have
what?
to.
I used to be like, who was you? I used to be wearing my around, swinging my hair. Actually, that was the fun part of the game. But, I said, man, that's the easiest way to get in somebody's head is to be talking shit to them. Like, I'll tell people, it's the name of the game. Like, ain't nobody, basketball is so unforgiving. I know we got a bunch of participation trophies and, everybody want to get a trophy and they didn't play, like Sean. Sean used to be so good that every time he never cared, but every time there was an MVP trophy, we was giving it to the 11th man and the 12th man. Yeah. And it's like nobody is ready to just fail. But that's why I admire some people who stand up on social media and let the game do the talking and the talking do the talking. Yeah. But social media is vicious, and I could never be in some people's shoes to constantly receive the continued. And it's not healthy. You like really go home and you want to take up for your kid. And
it wasn't in college. It really wasn't until he got in the NBA, and then that's when he was like, "Mom, you can't. You just please." And then I said, "Okay." I'm done trying to box everybody. It's all good. So let's talk about another thing that has changed over just recently, NIL deals, the name, image, and likeness. Have you guys had an opportunity to take advantage of that? I wish that was around several years ago, but I'm glad that it's around now. So some of our young people can really take advantage and get paid for their name, their likeness, and their images.
Yeah, Sean actually had some sort of deal with Applebee's in
Good.
New Jersey.
Okay.
He posted something on his website, on his Instagram. And then he got some T-shirts he's in collaboration with. I can't even think of the company for that. But there's a few things that's circling around.
Good.
Yeah, for him. So I'm happy for him and proud.
I am too. Good.
I would say, right before Shawnee got to Marquette, they was valuing his Instagram, which I no longer have control over, at a significant amount of money. And I do think that as a single parent, I'm blessed that you do have the NIL. Sean did not have like anything specific to himself, but the team has like the Be the Difference collectives where your university can like engage, people who want to donate, and maybe you guys go and do like community service or things of that nature. So that is a situation that can put money in pockets. Sean is still, for me, just working on his marketing and things like that. So he has had a few things, but he's kind of turned them down. That's why I want to get back into social media. So I would pick it up but I do, for me, I told him I damn near, because he is getting a lot of money, that's, I want you to do like a business, like get an LLC and start, maybe S&S Sporting or something, and start to invest some of that money. So send it home so I can figure out, what we can do with it. Because right now you're so young, you're just happy to have money in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
And that money could go and just like that. And I think that's like the biggest thing there with the NIL. So I believe it to be a very neat thing. I believe it to be helpful for me as a single parent, because trying to take care of a college student, I mean,
It's a lot.
that's a lot. When he was a high school student, he had a car, he was everywhere, he thought I was a bank account, you know what I'm saying? And so, so that's what I was gonna say. So when he got to college, I think one of the things that took a load off of me, even though it sounds like there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance there, because I did still want Sean to need me, like, hey mom, do you have $100? So
you want him always to need
yes,
you
want to feel needed. But then I was like, but dang, what if you say, hey, we're going on a spring break trip, I need $10,000?
Right.
It's like, so I am very excited that he is getting money. He does get, he's well fed, he's well taken care of by a bunch of grown, responsible men.
Right.
It's almost like for me to raise him as a single parent and, and be in a relationship that last year, at that point, Sean was like, I'm grown. I don't, a man that you have in your life could do nothing for me. So it's nice to see like people, it's kind of like I had to pass the torch, because I can't groom a 17-year-old man, an 18-year-old man, and even the person I'm dating, he couldn't do it because the relationship's too new.
Yeah.
So I think that on top of the NIL, just to have money in your pocket and people in your corner that's maturing you helps.
It definitely does.
So that's the way I look at it. But I would like to see him open up to some of the smaller deals and be open to it. But it's like he wants to establish his name first. And I'm like, Sean, you got to understand that everything is a business and there's money to be made.
And that'll help establish his name.
Yes, and that's what so that's a little bit of what I'm pushing back on. Like with him being 18, it's just, he definitely wants to run his own show. And I think with me having the maturity and knowing that every time I talk to him, I would say, there's money to be made and you're getting money from the school, but you're not tapping into your own
Outside
potential
resources
to really make, money. So I think that's the neat thing, is that, it's almost trickling down to high school, where some states you can do NIL.
It's getting ready to start here.
Oh, they last year they said no, but I wish they would have had that. Well, of course, y'all. Northland, historical.
Northland, Michigan, making it all the way to the champ.
Trillionaires.
Trey literally won just about every college award that was out there. And I don't even want to think about, every time I think about it, I get sick to my stomach. But then I think some kids now are taking advantage of it, and they're being blessed with it. So
yes, he crawled so our kids could walk.
Yes.
But no. I feel bad, because one day I was out at a little like lunch or I don't know, like a bar or something, and Michael Redd was talking about in college how broke he was, like flat out broke.
Yes.
And then you'll see these stories like where football players have robbed the pizza man or something, and they was hungry, and it's like, what in the world? But you're bringing in a university, and then the Fab Five,
yeah.
that's why they left.
Oh yeah.
You know.
When I walk in the M Den, right when he got in the NBA, and we would walk in the M Den and saw all of his apparel, stuff with his signature on it, I'm thinking, this is some bull.
Yeah.
For real. And then you would see the price tag of that picture, that famous shot from the Kansas game where they came back and won. That famous shot is all over the M Den with the signature and a price tag of thousands of dollars. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. But
it is.
Yeah. So we are coming to the end of our interview. This has been great, but I would like to know from both of you, what do you think life after college basketball looks like for your son? Or life after basketball, period. What do you think?
My son loves kids, so
Okay.
I'm sure he's going to do something pertaining to children.
Yeah.
You know, rather it's coaching, mentoring, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Because he definitely loves kids.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. And Sean?
Well, I know Sean is going to a very expensive university, and I know he's majoring in whatever they put forth, but I think for Sean, he'll probably always be in basketball. I feel like he has been raised in basketball. You know, I met his dad playing basketball at a small school. I coach. So ultimately, he said he would love to be a college coach. Like even today, I had that conversation with him. I said, so you think you could be Coach Smart, you could be Coach Haynes? He said, yeah, their job is easy. I said,
their job is easy.
Oh, you know, so.
He said, we're out there doing all the work.
Yeah, so they're out recruiting. I said, you think you can really do that? He said, yeah, or, you know, so he really would like to have a good college career and then play some professional basketball. He wants to get to the highest level, but we know it's a small percentage. And then he wants to go on and coach college basketball, but he definitely wants to stay around the sport. The one thing as much as I know I said earlier in our conversations that I've always set standards, I've always had these expectations of Sean, but I think the biggest thing is I never forced Sean to do anything when it came to basketball.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like what you said, like things being ordained. It's like sometimes the stars align and you feel like that's the direction they're gonna go. Because for real, I really didn't know if he was gonna play basketball, but I swore because he was really even good in football. He was good at anything he did. Like, you know, you just have a natural athlete. And it's like, but I really, really hope he plays basketball. So I think that the amazing thing that helps me with just the whole adjustment with being an empty nester is he really does genuinely love basketball, and it's just it's going to stay in his life. And so I just feel like whatever he embarks on is going to be around basketball.
Going to have a ball.
Yes, it's going to be a basketball somewhere in his future, and I just would like to take advantage of it earlier with getting some businesses in place and things of that nature, so that even if all options doesn't work, he still has some things that he can fall back on when the clapping stops, everybody who rides your wave stop.
Are off.
Yes, because people will be on your wave really quick and then they're off of it.
Yeah, they're gone just like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, ladies, I thank you so much. This was an awesome Sean Mom show.
Yes.
I'm glad that we had a chance to meet, and I'm actually glad that you two ladies had a chance to meet and share each other's stories as well.
It's been cool.
So we will be doing another Mom Knows Best luncheon and panel discussion in October. So be on the lookout for that. I'll keep you informed. I definitely want you to be in the room. It's time for you to also meet some other basketball and sports moms, because we are all we got.
Yeah.
You know, it's a network, it's a sisterhood. So I'll be in contact with you on that. But then again, thank you